The following show features episodic breakdowns of Jackass, either performed by professionals or under the supervision of professionals. For your safety, avoid listening to this podcast at all times. Hi, I'm Mikey Aaronworth.
I'm Jason Wellwood.
And I'm Chris Aaronworth.
Welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to Jackass. It's the podcast where we're on a path of destruction through every single episode of the Jackass.
We are three lifelong fans of the show, reliving the belly laughs, bad ideas, and broken bones.
We got a good one for you today, kiddies.
Ooh.
Energy.
Yeah. So what we are doing today, if you didn't guess already, which I don't know how you would really guess it, but
the title of the podcast.
Yeah, that'll tip.
Well, Mikey, you should do a title saying like super porno, big tits, lesbian hookups, and then
your
people click,
episode.
and then we'll really throw them off.
Yeah.
That's quick way to get downvoted. Yeah.
Oh, that's not very nice of them. Basically, what we're doing, long story short, is we are breaking down the overall ratings that we have done so far. Since we've completed all the movies, basically all the mainline Jackass stuff, we figured we're going to take a look at the old spreadsheet that I just found out about after all these years. And we're going to talk about the top 25, 26 stunts.
Holy shit.
Pretty
and there's
good.
a reason why it's 26. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, guys, we have a fucking spreadsheet and nobody has this.
Nobody.
We got to protect this thing. We got to fucking put this in a safe and bury it in a bunker somewhere underground, because this is a compendium of all the mainline Jackass stunts that have happened. We've watched them. We've rated them. Like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And when we started the podcast, we kind of had this in mind that we'd do this one day. So I'm just fucking blown away right now that we're doing it. Any last words? Because this could end friendships right here, and brotherhoods.
Yeah.
Brotherhoods.
Well, I'm a little scared today. You know, I usually do like a fact of the day.
Is that why you're waiting for a phone call again?
I'm a little scared, you know, and it's not about, as Jay was saying, the brotherly drama and the drama between me and Jay where we might get into some arguments. There's some real life issues, and you know, fact of the day's been a little iffy lately, but today is a pretty interesting fact of the day if you look at today's news, because
Wait a minute. Are you doing a fact of the day for
today? Yeah.
March 21st, 2023.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
What is the fact of the day, Chris?
It better not be what I fucking think it is.
Apparently, our true Lord and Savior Donald Trump is getting arrested today, and
Oh shit. Right?
I'm very concerned about this. This is really bothering me, freaking me out.
Yeah, why is that?
Because who's going to save the world from pedophile rings if he's in jail?
Oh, like pedophile rings in the basement of pizza places?
Yeah, and like, you know, politicians and Epstein's Island and all those other things, and we need him to come back in and turn the economy around from Sleepy Joe, even though I'm not American.
Man.
Yeah.
Man, I missed a news day or something. What's going on?
Is he
right
actually
now?
getting arrested? Is this?
Oh, he tweeted this like last week where he's like, on Tuesday I'm going to be getting arrested, blah, 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 blah. He's like, make sure you protest. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so
she
he
could pop
clearly
off pretty
didn't learn
aggressively
his
today.
lesson.
That was his line.
That was his line.
Make sure you protest.
Yeah.
The thing that he's being arrested for, which is instigating the January 6th riots.
No, I think this is something different. He was
no, but
cleared
that's
charged.
what he's being arrested for. Was
I
his involvement
don't
in
think
that.
I don't think this is what that is, but
Oh,
anyways,
really?
I don't know much about it. I thought you'd know for sure, Mike.
We don't know. We're lowly Canadians. I try to stay away from politics and the news these days. To be honest, it's just it's draining for my brain. Instead, I like to do things like watch Jackass, like we've been doing over the last 2 years. We've got this compendium of all of our ratings of all of the major Jackass stunts, and I can't wait to go through them. Obviously, we didn't include things like interstitials, which is important to note. It was more just the Jackass stunts that kind of like were a little bit meaty or something we could sink our teeth into. It's our combined ratings that we're doing it. That's what determines the top 26. And the reason, as Jay mentioned, it's top 26 is because there are some ties. So like the Masters in golf, if you're a fan of that, which just like Chris's Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, appears he's also a fan of
He's a great golfer.
golf.
Yeah.
He could probably beat Kim Jong-un for sure.
Oh, come on. Yeah. There's a fight. That's a pay-per-view event that right there.
Honestly, I would watch that one. I would watch that.
Come on.
So we've got
Guys.
like the number one is going to be shared among all stunts, which are tied for that rating. And so is the case for all subsequent ratings as well.
Yeah.
So can't wait to go through those.
And the reason we went combined is because I tank all the ratings. So if you have any problems with something not being on here, there's a high probability that that's my fault. I'll take responsibility right off the top.
Well, and that's
Jay's a hard marker.
That's important to bring up because that's kind of what we're going to be doing. This is going to be like a stats and analysis episode. We haven't really reviewed the spreadsheet to take a look at, apart from sorting it so that we're ready for this episode. We haven't really looked at the stunts contained within it. So we're going to be surprised by some of the picks. We're going to talk about some surprises, some absences, some notable things that aren't on there, some of our favorite stunts which didn't show up, or things that we thought were rated too high, and we'll take it from there.
Hey, Mikey, should we give the spreadsheet to an AI and ask the AI to rate the stunts?
Oh man, we should ask ChatGPT
really?
on this what its favorite what the best Jackass stunt is.
Does anyone have ChatGPT?
I don't even. I'm too scared to even get involved with it.
Same with me. I feel like the second you add it, you're gonna start turning into a computer somehow.
Yeah. You gotta submit a sperm sample if you want to get on the list. So I don't know what that's all about, but they want sperm, blood, and hair. And for some reason, if you're Mikey, they want some of your shit too. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, it's gold, man. That's why.
Oh, it's so weird. I had a dream last night, and it literally was right when I woke up.
Wait a minute.
Can't wait.
No, it's really quick. Where Mikey, you pooed your pants and you sat on my new couch and you smeared it on my couch, and I was violently beating you up. I was so mad at you, and then I felt so bad because you were so sad, embarrassed, but you ruined my couch. I'm like, I don't care. I'm charging you $1,000. You're like, I'm poor right now. I'm like, I don't care. You find a way, bitch.
He pulled a poppy on you.
It was dripping down your leg, and then you just smeared it on my couch. I was so fucking mad. I've been having a lot of poo dreams lately. Weird.
Yeah, you fucking weirdo.
Well, we did just finish reviewing Jackass 3D, which ended in Poo Cocktail Supreme, so that kind of makes sense.
Fair enough.
Very seldom in my life have I seen such a high volume of poo represented on screen, so I think that checks out.
Touché.
I was just reading a book recently on spaced repetition and learning, and apparently, if you review something right before you sleep, you have a higher probability of dreaming about it, and because your brain's working through the problem. So my question is, Chris, you've been watching Poo Cocktail Supreme on repeat, closeted this whole time before you go to bed at night, haven't you? I
was trying to figure out why I was missing out and why my rating wasn't as high as it should have been. So I just been doing a lot of market research,
That's it.
Well, speaking of, we'll see if Poo Cocktail Supreme cracks the top 26 best Jackass stunts of all time. You saw the title.
I hope it's grown on you.
Yeah.
I think Mikey wants to get started. Is this a signal? Should
well, I think everyone wants us to get started. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to have time to talk shit during it. Yeah. Okay. But let's start with it.
Well, all right, guys. So as Mikey mentioned, it was going to be a top 25, but because we're chunking a few of them based on having similar ratings, we're going to start with our top 25 to 26. The first two sketches in the rotation. Instead of going one by one, I'll give you the group. How's that?
Yep.
So here we go. Our first in the list of the top 26 best Jackass sketches of all time, we've got from Jackass Forever, Dark Shark Tarantula, and The Quiet Game. Let's start with Dark Shark Tarantula, boys. If you don't remember, for the viewer, this is where they had the helmet on that's connected by a glass tube, and they throw a tarantula in there. And I believe it was him versus his son, right? Or was it?
I think it was Danger Aaron.
Danger Aaron on the other end with Dark Shark there. Reminisce, boys. You remember this? Anything stand out for you on this one? Why is this our number 25, 26?
It was good. This one, these first ones that we're running through, I think are just going to kind of be like, okay, all in all, let's actually give the overall numbers of the stunts we've reviewed. There are a total of 260. So this is kind of like the higher echelon of these stunts. Top 25. We're gonna recognize all of them. They're all gonna kind of have a little bit of credence in our mind. Dark Shark Tarantula kind of surprises me. It's the latest movie, and it's not even a pure Jackass member, but I remember the elation we all experienced, the funny reaction we got, and this is what I'm kind of gonna say to inform what I said last week about Bam's snake pit. You can't tell me Dark Shark isn't as scared of tarantulas as Bam is snakes, but his reaction is so much more fun than the reaction Bam gives. Bam just shut down completely. Dark Shark didn't. And then
yes, he did. He literally basically passed out.
Yeah.
but that
he hyperventilates and passes out.
It's not a shutting down in the sense of sure, shutting off
yes, it is.
But shutting off like you're a Windows computer is different than just being like, I'm not giving you guys a reaction. Fuck it. This is too much. Don't do this.
So you're saying when Dark Shark went out, there was a in the background?
Exactly, like every time Poopies gets a concussion. And it's good, for this to be shared with kind of like the reason this one's here is because of the reaction of Dark Shark. The reason the quiet game is there is because the purpose of it is to not have a reaction. That's Steve-O, Rachel Wolfson, and Poopy's. Obviously, the taser to the tongue for Rachel Wolfson. Poopy's getting bit in the face by the snake, and then the skateboard to the shins by Steve-O.
I think it's kind of interesting how the first two that we're doing in our top reviews came from the new movie.
Yeah.
Just completely random, completely interesting, though. Also, for the record, in case anybody was wondering, which you slackers forgot to say, the average score between the three of us for these two scores was 26.5.
25.5.
25.5.
Yeah, my eyes are bad. But, yeah, so basically...
gout in your eyes, too?
I should, yeah, basically. So we did, for Dark Shark, it was an 8.5, a 9.0, and an 8.0 from Mikey, Chris, to Jay, respectively. And the Quiet Game was a 9.0, 9.0, and 7.5, Jay. That's a little weak.
What?
I agree. 7.5 is weak for the Quiet Game.
But to be fair, fuck both of you. I got nothing. You're probably right. I'm gonna have to defend myself a lot, so I'm gonna like bank a few comebacks here and just hopefully be ready for next time. But for now, it's just a straight fuck both of you. 7.5 is a great score.
It's not a bad score, but for me, that was like, we talked about the Quiet Game as like a passing of the torch, and also like the disappointment in the fact that Steve-O, as one of the old boys, didn't win against the new kids was disappointing. But what do you guys think? So within each group, we're going to nominate one of them as the winner of the group. So if it's 20 to 24, which is the next group, we're going to give one to be the winner between those four. In this case, since there's two of them, we're going to nominate the winner of this group to have the pure, this is number 25 of all the stunts. My vote is going to be for the Quiet Game in this one because I think that, as fun as Dark Shark Tarantula was, it wasn't as all encompassing as a Jackass stunt. There was so much more play involved in the whole group in Quiet Game, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to make it interesting because I'm going to split the votes right now and put it into Jay's hand, because I did actually rate both of these the exact same. And I had more fun, and I thought, which was as much as like metaphorically, Quiet Game is like, it seemed like a bigger part of the movie. It was on the trailers and all this stuff. I definitely thought the Tarantula Dark Shark was funnier. Okay. So I'm going with that one.
I'm with Chris, and obviously I rated that one higher, so no surprise there, but I got an 8 out of 10 on that. And I just felt like that was more exciting too, because the stakes are a little higher. Although I do love Steve-O's reaction when he takes the skateboard to the shins and goes, "Up!"
He immediately loses the game.
So good.
And by the way, this reminds me, I didn't say this in the outset, but I do have a bit of a surprise for you guys. At the end of this podcast, I have a little surprise that I put together for you. It won't take me very long, but I'm very excited to share it with you. Jay, why don't we lead into the top 20 to 24 then?
Chris, just on the lowdown, Mikey totally spoiled the surprise with me before, so I know what it is. He likes me better than you.
Not true. And, I would never do that to you, Chris.
What, like him better? Of course you would. I'm pretty sure you do, but
no, I do like him better, but I wouldn't be unfair to you in regards to the production of this podcast.
Nice. Okay, fair enough. Touche.
All right. And to keep this train a-rolling, boys, we got 4 this time in this next chunk. This is number 24 all the way down to 20. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to list them out, but I'm going to give you a quick, like, here's what this was, just so you can, have the recall and memory as I go through them. So first up in the list, and again, this is by no particular order. They're all equal here. They're all equal. Yeah. And you know what, guys? Frankly, I've had enough of people saying that the speed bag wasn't a great Jackass sketch. All around the world, people have been saying, what's up with the speed bag? Now, you see what Jay is doing here is he's stalling, and I'm speaking in the third person. I don't fucking know why, but I'm stalling because
I'll help you out, Jay.
I can't remember what happens.
The speed bag is Preston Lacey in Jackass Forever with the little punching bags hitting his scrotum.
Okay, little punching bags. Next up, we've got bobbing for jellyfish, which is pretty self-explanatory there. You've got the muscle stimulator. Guys, the gooch. Just remember, if you forgot this one, it's when they put the pads on the gooch and they shock each other. I can't wait to talk about that for a minute. And finally, the poo-poo platter.
Poo-poo platter was one of the original. Yes. Poo-poo platter was a funny one. Another one that people may not remember, but from season 1 of Jackass, where Johnny Knoxville goes into a restaurant and orders a meal and puts human shit in it, and then tries to convince the restaurant that they're the ones who put that in there.
And the restaurant tries to convince him that it's a sausage of some kind.
Yeah,
which is like the best. Oh,
It's interesting
man.
because so far we've got another appearance from Jackass Forever. So of the representation of the top 25, so far Jackass Forever is the best. Now, does that mean that they are the worst of the best? Like they're going to have the lowest of the they're going to occupy the greatest amount of space in the lowest of these selections, maybe. But now we've got representation.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Now we've got representation by season 2. Because the Bobbing for Jellyfish is season 2, episode 8, obviously Steve-O. We got Jackass the movie, the original one. That's Jackass the movie. That's in there incorrectly. No, that's Jackass the first movie, the muscle stimulator.
Okay.
And then season 1, episode 4 is the poo poo platter.
Right on. Yeah, man. I was thinking about when we brought up the muscle stimulator here. One thing that immediately popped into my mind was that I'd kind of forgotten about this, but it's like the minute I read the title, it was like, fuck yeah, that was like one of the highlights of this whole podcast for me personally, is when we got to that moment, because we were starting to get out of Jackass TV and into Jackass movies, and I had forgotten up to that point when we did the first movie, like how much fucking fun the movies are and how they really hit their stride. Like there is a clear distinction in a lot of these sketches. Like you can tell the production quality change, and just they really figured out what they were good at once they got to the movies. And goddamn, every time I think of that muscle stimulator, I just think of like Dave England, all the guys, legs up in the air, doing the gooch, Knoxville asking who's going to do the gooch. And like that word, we talked about it before, but was cemented in my vocabulary gooch from then on out. And I still use it to this day.
Yeah, it was, I think we all realized two things when we started this whole process of reviewing all the Jackass content. One was that the actual original seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Jackass are not as good as we remember them to be. The movies are where most of the best stunts are. There are obviously exceptions, but the seasons weren't ever as exciting, I think, as the movies ended up being. And the other one was how much we all enjoyed those stunts where it's just a group of people together fucking with each other. I'm thinking paper cuts. I'm thinking the muscle stimulator. I'm thinking maybe the butt chug. Just weird little, like, we're all hanging out in a hotel. Let's think of something fucked up to do. And we should say as well, because Chris clued us into this in the last grouping, this section of the 20th highest rating stunt tied. There are 4 of them. Each received a 26 overall score for the speed bag. And again, this is Mikey, Chris, Jay in the ratings. A 9, 9.5, 7.5. Bobbing for Jellyfish, 8.5, 9, 8.5. Muscle Stimulator, 8.5, 9, 8.5. And the Poo Poo Platter, 9, 10. Chris gave it his first 10, and Jay gave it a 7.
Well, it's not my first 10, but...
No, I think it was your first 10. Season 1, episode 4, wasn't it?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'm looking through this, and I don't... That's one of those... The first one I've seen so far, which I'm like, I think I probably would have changed my rating. Maybe we're earlier on in the thing. I was looking for some 10s to gives, because... To me, if we were talking about which we might be doing, or which we'd be doing, talking about which one we think is actually the best of this, for me, it's the speed bag.
Oh, really? More than the muscle stimulator?
Yeah,
tiny gloves,
I
big
thought
nuts.
it'd be different, but I loved that speed bag. Was just so fucking funny to me, man. The way the nuts shriveled up, the way they had to pull him down, like it was just the little cute mini boxing gloves. Like it was just the production on that. Was one of the funniest things I've seen in Jackass. So. As much as I love the muscle stimulator, we do have very similar ones, as you were saying before, that I can get away with giving something else a shine in these blocks, because I know there's other ones along those lines that I did like better than the muscle stimulator.
Interesting. Jay, do you have a preference for this grouping? What's number 1?
Oh man, I do like the speed bag, but it's not my favorite. Like I'm with Chris, float like a dude egg, sting like a bee. But I think like it's got to be the muscle stimulator. I got to go back to it, because it's fucking just dudes, like Mikey said, dudes in a room having a good time. And like, if you were in that situation, you'd be doing the same thing. We'd all be naked within the first 5 minutes, putting it in the most erogenous zones we can find. So that's the winner, clear winner for me on this one.
Yeah, man. So it falls to me then. I'll pick between one of the two of those to make sure that one of these goes through. Chris, I hear what you're saying about the speed bag. I think it was just so funny. And I love the fact that it played with the whole perspective of like the stunt ended up being the production of the stunt more than the stunt itself, if that makes sense. That's like the premise of Jackass Forever. Is it's
and he tried taking mini punching bags to the fucking directly to the nutsack. That's a pretty big stunt, bro.
Of course. It was great. And Preston's just insistence on like, just get it done, let's go. I'm here. But there's something so iconic about the muscle stimulator. I'm going to give that one the pass because it's the one I think of most when I think of just guys in a group together, apart from maybe the paper cuts, and we'll see if that shows up later on this list.
Yeah, if there's one I don't feel bad about losing, like they were very neck and neck to me. I definitely am happy with either one of those going through.
We didn't really say much about bobbing for jellyfish, but I'm having a hard time remembering even who did that.
That was
Do you guys
Steve-O.
remember who that was?
Steve-O.
Was it Steve-O? Okay. I remember it sucking, but like for some reason it doesn't stand out, and I'm wondering why did it get such a high rating? I'd have to go back, and that probably answered my question. But keep in mind, everybody, this is out of 30. That's the highest we can do. So a 26 out of 30 is pretty high caliber.
Pretty high.
Let's move on, though, because we've got a couple more here. The next round of 3, we've got round of 4, I should say, number 19 down to 16. I'm going to do it fucking right this time, too. Starting on the first of the group, it's Electric Avenue, which we just talked about very recently from Jackass 3D. That's the hallway of tasers and stun guns. Then coming up next, we've got the Beehive Tetherball. Jackass 3D. That's still fresh in memory.
Why don't you, Jay, as you're going, why don't you give our ratings as well? And keeping in mind that this is a total grouping. This total rating had 26.5 out of 30.
26.5, and for some reason a 26.4, which I will explain that in a minute. So let's jump back. Electric Avenue started out the hallway of tasers and stun guns, as I said, from Jackass 3D. That would be Mikey coming in with a 6.9 out of 10. Yeah. There's your skewed rating right there. Remember, there's no 6.5s on this fucking podcast.
Doesn't exist. It's only 6.9.
Chris with a 9.5 out of 10, and me with a 10. So you can tell there was a lot of love for this one between Chris and I, at least. Beehive Tetherball with Mikey with an 8, Chris with a 9.5, and myself with a 9. And coming up next, we've got the Electric Tap Dance in this group as well, which was from Jackass Forever, which was the electrified floor and the electrified piano seat as well. 9.5 for Mikey, 9 for Chris, and an 8 for me. And then to finish this group off, it's the Unicycle, which comes from Jackass Season 2, Episode 7. This is a 10 for Mikey, a 9.5 for Chris, and a 7 for me. Mikey, fill me in on the Unicycle. What was that one all about? I don't quite remember that.
The Unicycle was Steve-O's coming of age story. And I remember this one so specifically. Jay, I remember it didn't land for you quite as well, but Chris and I recognized this as the moment Steve-O became Steve-O. He, you know, from the vomiting to the charisma that he showed. He's walking back to his hotel. He's so proud of the stunt that he did. And this is the Steve-O who in season 1 just invited a crew over and he's like, I got a bunch of elephant shit, and he's trying to introduce it to the cast, and everyone's like, we don't know what you're doing with this. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do? I just have he's figured himself out in the unicycle. And it took him a little while. This is season 2, episode 7. But he's there, and it was just the moment of us realizing, like, oh, this is when Steve-O becomes Steve-O, and that was critical for his growth, I thought.
Chris, do you agree? This is when Steve-O became Steve-O. You still feel that way?
100%. It was almost like a emotional moment as he's walking up to that shitty motel, puking over the edge. Like, you're just like, this is it. Like, it was like he'd suck, but he knew it. You know, he knew it deep down that he was the man that day, and that's why I loved that one. If you actually took over the stunt itself, it wasn't the craziest thing, but sometimes it's more about the art and what's behind the scenes than it is about necessarily someone getting smacked in the dick with something.
That image of him walking back to his dirty motel, just like laughing, pointing to the camera, vomiting on the ground, like, like, fuck it, threw up like 19 times. It was like,
oh God.
I think now when I think of Steve-O, I think of that stunt.
Jay, it's funny because between the two of you, in this grouping alone, both of you had scores that let me down.
Yeah.
And both they had to do with electricity. Jay, do you remember potentially why you might not have liked Electric Tap Dances the way that me and Mikey did? Did you maybe misremember who the star was in the thing?
No, but I think I know why you think that I don't like it. And let's just say that there's this little saying that goes, I don't have a saying, but it's basically just you're projecting right now is what you're doing, Chris. So I want you to think, let's just put this into perspective. Who started the show saying our Lord and Savior Donald Trump is going to jail or whatever? Wasn't Jay. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't Jay. But yeah, I got some names mixed up in this sketch because my notes were way fucking wrong, and I have not lived that down. So let's just say that Electric Tap Dance, I gave it an 8 out of 10, which I think is personally a
Still
pretty
a good
good
score.
fucking score.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing ever, but it was funny to watch the confusion, because this was like, I think the first time we see something like this happen is back when Wee Man's getting the fucking, he's sitting on the seat and he thinks they're throwing cards in his ass. And like, that worked so well the first time they did something like this. I'm glad they brought it back for forever. And they're, they're doing the electric floor, but the seat is secretly electrified on the piano. And like, what I love about it is there's no gullibility on this one. Like when Wee Man got the card machine, he just kept going back for more, not figuring it out. One shock, and it's like, no, fuck you guys, game over. Like,
yeah, it was Tyler, the Creator, just immediately knew something was up. And it turned like, this was one of those fun ones where Jeff Tremaine clearly set up a prank on Tyler, the Creator, like not a member of Jackass, but just someone who was there, electrified the piano
but he
seat.
knew. And that's what's great. Like he had the canon of Jackass to know that, oh, I know immediately what you guys are doing. And yeah, no, this is a memorable one. I had fun despite maybe the podcast episode not being so memorable.
The
other question I had.
Sorry, before Chris, Jay, you missed Fireworks Wake Up. That was also included in this grouping, but that's a 9, a 10, and a 7.5. Chris surprisingly giving the Fireworks Wake Up a 10. I remember it most for the power handshake between Preston Lacey and Phil Margera, which was the greatest show of respect between those two beasts of a man. But yeah, Chris, you were about to say?
I was going to say the other interesting thing is with Electric Avenue, we got, I think it might be Jay's first ever 10, if not one of two. And close. Mikey, that was one of the lower ratings I've seen you do in a while. What was the difference over there?
Yeah, it was curious for me. I'll just give a quick my impression of it before you talk about it being a 10J, because you're notoriously the hard marker of the group. But there was something about the short-lived nature of Electric Avenue. It just felt like I get the build up and I get there was a reaction, but it was all kind of like it was over before it began. And it felt like there was a common thread, just like drawing something else out of it. I loved it. And I think of it as a somewhat iconic stunt, but I remember when it came out and you guys were like, this one I remember better than anyone in this movie, or like close to it. And I was like, man, it just didn't have that same effect on me for some reason. I can't really put it into words.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally fine. I mean, like it, I think there's something to the danger factor. Like I really like the sound design on this, because when you hear those tasers and those cattle prods just spinning there, it's like, oh fuck. Like you can feel how much it's about to hurt these guys. You get that jump from Bam, like that inhumane, like midair double jump thing he pulls, which like it physically shouldn't even be possible. Like there's just so much chaos, and like you can tell it's just the kind of pain that just like makes you pissed off after you've been through it, because they're like putting their fists through the walls, the drywall and shit. Like nobody's happy to have done this. There's no like after sketch laughing. It's just everybody's like, fuck this ruined my day. And there's something about like the balls it takes to subject yourself to this, knowing how bad it's going to suck, but coming out on the other side and everybody makes it through. Nobody bitches out. I love that. Yeah. I love that. Because we've seen sketches like, I think of the one where they did the first riot control test with Knoxville. Yep. And who was it? Was it Dunn that didn't want to do it?
No, Dave England flat out. No one wanted to do it.
He's like,
and everyone was going to walk away, but it was Dunn it was England who legit didn't come back for it.
Yeah, but on this one, you don't get any of that. Everybody's on board for something that's just gonna be fucking terrible, and I love that. So Electric Avenue, I think I'm just gonna say it right now. This is probably my favorite out of the set. However, Fireworks Wake Up, we didn't talk about it. I do want to mention that whole thing with like the handshake and Preston going in, and then Ape waking up. Or is this? Maybe that's the switcheroo that we're thinking of. I think we got mixed up there.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right. That is, the power shake is from the switcheroo.
Fireworks Wake Up might be when Phil gets in his vehicle, right?
Yes.
To go to work.
Yeah.
And then they fucking set off a bunch of shit. Okay. But anyways, yes, I'm going with Electric Avenue for my favorite of the set. I just want to say one quick thing before I'll pass it on here, is that Beehive Tetherball we didn't really touch on yet. Real quick. Again, this is like the same deal with Electric Avenue for me. When you see the setup, you're just like on fucking cloud nine. And goddamn, I still have that image of England trying to get the bees out of his hat.
Yeah, the little scratch in his ear. Ever. It was great. Yeah, it was great. So you're going. The pass for you is for Electric Avenue.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the one for me.
My pass is going to be for the unicycle. Again, Steve-O is such a key member of Jackass and such a singular moment in his growth. I just can't look past the unicycle. That's going to be my pick.
Interesting, boys, because those are the two that I was thinking about. even though
at
I
this guy.
had higher scores on different ones. But I think in the spirit of the grand scheme of things, I don't know if that's the right word because that's going to kind of counterintuitive what I'm going to say, but I got to go Electric Avenue.
Oh, wow.
The Steve-O thing, it is a great moment, but if you really boil down what happened there in terms of Jackass type situations,
Yeah.
the average person is going to go through and look through and see Electric Avenue being more entertaining, more exciting. It only takes like the super artistic, well thought, well spoken, beautiful people like me and Mikey that would even notice that Steve-O waking theory. But I'm a man of the people, so I got to go. I think the people would say,
yeah,
that is
a
true.
dude walking home and puking all over himself. Just that's
upper echelon of class.
Yeah,
with
all
certainty.
Right. I didn't say anything before, but you guys are both out of your fucking minds. You're reading way too much into that bullshit. A dude riding a unicycle
I
by
bet
an
you
old
he would say the same thing
scraggly
about
river.
himself. I bet you.
Oh, come on. Listen, here's what I will say about this next one, guys, is that, first of all, Chris, props to you. Before we move on, I do want to give you props because you're becoming the documentarian here. I don't know if, Mikey, you noticed this, but anytime we get into it, Chris is like, so, Mikey, tell me what you were thinking. Walk back
I like it. No, it's great. It's so good.
Skit. And the way he's just propped up on the couch there.
He's being a true professional today.
Yeah, I like it.
As I'm laying back, sitting like centrally like that sideways pose on the couch.
No, there's something inviting about this version of Chris that I like.
Yeah,
I feel like I could tell you just about anything.
They should arrest Trump more often.
Yeah.
No.
Chris, no,
please don't.
So, yeah, I don't know what goes on in jail, but if they have access to lighters and anything made of steel, Bam might not be the only one getting a brand.
I hear you.
I don't know. Does that carrot orange skin does it take to a brand? Do you think? What brand would Trump get if he had a choice? Would it be a penis like Bam in this one? Or
I think it would be a gold bar or something like that. I think he loves gold. He's like the physical embodiment of Gold Member from Austin Powers. I fucking loves gold.
It would just say the number one president of all time.
that's a big brand to get.
I know, but he's a beast, man. He is the top G. He could handle it, you know?
Number 15. Sorry, guys. I'll just jump in and give you the ratings here. Number 15 in our ranking. This one stands on its own. It's the only score of 27 out of 30. Between the three of us, we all stuck with a 9 out of 10. So I guess we agreed this was a pretty solid sketch.
And it's Bam's brand.
You bet.
Yeah.
Bam's brand. So if you remember this from Jackass number 2.
Just think Dick Farm.
Yeah, Dick Farm. That's how you know it. Yeah.
Jackass the movie, I should say. Dick Farm, as Dunn calls it, of course. I love this fucking sketch so much, and I'd forgotten about this. It just speaks to how much good shit there is here that when you see the title and you smile. But if you guys remember this, when Bam gets the brand, he's pretty game for it before it happens, before he knows how bad it's going to hurt. Like, he's shaking, he's scared, but I remember him being like, this is going to suck, but I have to do it. And I like seeing that side of Bam because we've seen like Snake Bam, where it's like, no, I ain't having any of this. Get me the fuck out of this. It just goes to show that you can give Bam Margera shit because he's a polarizing figure. And a lot of people want to say, oh, like he's not as tough as some of the other guys. Well, other guys will say, leave him alone. You couldn't do half the shit that this guy's doing. I think it stands to reason to just say that, hey, I'm not standing up to get my ass branded. You're not doing it. This guy's actually pretty fucking hardcore. Give him shit if you want.
This was one of the things that I learned going back. Him and Johnny Knoxville, I always just thought that they were the faces because they had good faces. Do you know what I mean? But going back and watching it and seeing how much they're willing to subject themselves to, and Bam's not only his grit and his ability to take punishment, but also his creativity. And there is something even in the simplicity of this. There's something creative about it. And I love the Dick Farm. I'm glad that it stands on its own at number 15 because I wouldn't want to put this one up against anything else.
I'm excited to go into the next batch because Jay, you're gonna have a lot to answer to in this next batch. I'm going through looking.
Oh yeah,
and you have some very questionable scores versus some very high scores.
7.5. Oh no!
But then some very high score versus like this one. But anyways, let's go through, Jay. Let's see a back tail out of this one.
All right. If you're all done with the Bam's brand, that's fine with me. But I do got to give them bonus points on Bam's brand for the whole like Dude Ranch cowboy theme they went with.
Yeah.
That was great. It was on point. I love it. I hope Bam still got that fucking star too. He's got to have some.
Oh yeah, those don't go away.
No. Yeah, but coming up next, we've got a big set for you guys. There's 5 in this one, so listen up closely. Coming from Jackass Season 3, Episode 4, it's Nutball. Fucking Nutball, guys. 9.5 for Mikey, a 10 for me, and an 8. Or sorry, a 10 for Chris, my mistake, and an 8 for me. Listen, Chris, before you say anything, I know where you're going. Let's go through the whole set first.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just hold
No,
it in.
that's what I was thinking.
Hold it in. This is 27.5 rating for all of these, by the way. We've got Nutball up first, and then coming up next, it's the poof, the farting baby powder. 8 for Mikey, 9.5 for Chris, and a 10 for me. As you know, this is one of my favorite things. You've heard me talk about it on the show before. Comes from Jackass, Part 2, second movie. Up next, we've got the Beehive, or I should say the Bee Limo, not the Beehive Limo, but the Bee Limo. 10 and 10 for Chris and Mikey, a 7.5 for me on that one. Chris, hold your thoughts. From Jackass, the movie, we've got Wasabi Snooters. That's Steve-O doing the Coke snort of the wasabi at the Japanese restaurant. 10 for Mikey, 9 for Chris, and a 8.5 for myself. And then rounding this all out, the first sketch from the very first Jackass movie, it's Rent-A-Car Crash Up Derby featuring Johnny Knoxville. You got a 9.5 for Mikey on that, a 9 for Chris, and a 9 for myself. At least we can align there.
Yep.
Now, open fire, boys.
All right.
Fucking
let me take this for a second
Have
over
at it,
here.
Chris. Have at it.
This batch has a few of my favorite stunts of all time, and we're not even in the top. How many? We're the top batch we're in right now?
This is top
Six.
10.
Yeah,
to
Yeah,
15,
it's getting
10 to 14,
10 to
sorry,
15. So they aren't even in the top 10, Jay. There's certain ones, like when we've done the drafts,
Technically,
you
we
were
are, but
aggressively fighting over Nutball, but you still gave it an 8. You know, when we're looking at the other ones like the B limo, that was one of the most layered depths.
I totally agree.
Stunts ever, and you talk about that all the time in that way. You're like, you've brought it up since
No,
being
I don't.
yes,
Fuck you. That's you and Mikey.
Jay, let me put it this way.
It is more us.
But hey, I guess what I'm trying to ask Jay is there any of these out of these batches that if you had a chance to get some redemption on, that you might be able to be the bigger man and say, you know what, I think I was a little harsh on this one in comparison to the grand scheme of things.
Okay. Just hold on. I got to take a phone call. Hey, Mom? Yeah, so what was the height that you dropped me from after I was born? We talking 4 feet? 8? Somewhere in that range? Okay. 6.9. All right, sounds good.
6.9 feet.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm almost going to just agree with you. I'm just going to lay down on this one. I think Nutball should have been higher. I'm not going to stand up for myself there. I don't know why I gave it an 8. I think we were earlier on in, well, I can't even say that because that's Jackass season 3.
Season 3,
so
episode 4. We're pretty far along. We had done a movie at that point as well.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at it, questioning it because I look at it now and I think it should be higher. So
Okay,
I know you want to take the piss out of me, but I think
No, I was curious about that, and I'm actually happy about that because some of these things, it's crushing me that even they're still high up there out of all the stunts, but
yeah,
respectively, I think they should have been higher. But no, thank you, Jay.
I'll say that for Nutball, but for B Limo though, 7.5 out of 10. You guys went a 10. Let's talk about that. Let's start a fucking dispute. Let's get divorced. 7.5 out of 10. Here's why. It is a great sketch. I love Dave England on the edge of pooping too, when he's trying to hold it in because he doesn't have to. We all know he doesn't have to do that, but he's doing it. He's taking one for the team.
But hold it in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said he didn't actually have to poo, and I was like, no, that was how they started off the stunt where they tricked him saying he was gonna.
Exactly.
Anyways, okay.
Because he's a man of duty. Like he knows that he has to hold that in because he's got a sketch coming up. And I love that whole part of it, that it's like there's this whole thing built around, okay, now you're trapped in a limo with bees and they got the marbles when they come out. All of that is great. I'm not disputing that. But what I will say is the reason I did a 7.5 is it comes down to this, guys. It comes down to this thing. It's well orchestrated. It's fun. It makes you laugh. But what am I going to do? Like,
give it a higher rating.
I could, but it has to get me in the moment. And like, I remember having the same type of conversation with you guys that I laughed, I had fun, but it never got me past that tipping point of like, just like uncontrollable laughter. When I look at the fucking farting baby powder, another example in here, I couldn't stop laughing. I had to rewind and watch that over and over again. I was well satisfied with the meal that was the B limo, but farting baby powder was like someone laced my food with like fucking, I don't know, crack cocaine or something. I need more of that. Like that's where I'm coming from with B limo. A 10 says that you just need to go back and watch that immediately. You can't stop thinking about it. That wasn't Beehive Limo for me.
I hear you. I hear you in the
Yeah, I mean, people have different opinions.
If it didn't make you laugh, it didn't make you laugh, and I get that. But the appreciation I have for it, like, I also think that there are some great Jackass stunts, some of my favorite, that I didn't even necessarily have to laugh out loud at. I just had an appreciation for what they were, and that's one of the key things for me about B Limo is how nuanced and layered it is. Everything from tricking Dave England into thinking he had to take a shit, to getting the bees in there, to Steve-O, who didn't react because he knew that if he did, the bees would be on him. And it turns out he got in trouble from Jeff Tremaine for not reacting properly. And then at the end, putting the marbles at the outside of the limo so everyone trips. And I think there were also paintballs or something like that. Like everything from beat to beat, when you think it's going to end, it never ends. And I just had such a huge appreciation for what it was established as, even if it didn't make me laugh. But this was one of the best, most orchestrated, well realized, well executed pranks, I thought. In
my mind, it was literally the greatest overall layered prank I've ever seen in Jackass in general.
Same.
Like, I see where you guys are coming from, and listen, I'm probably wrong in the eyes of the viewers.
Yeah, you are.
I get that. But I got to stand my ground here, because
Touché.
what else do I have, man? I got to stand my ground on that one. I'll admit I was wrong about Nutball. That should have been at least a 9 from me, at least. But I'm sticking on this one. And I will say this, though. For some reason, I gave Rent-A-Car Crash Up Derby a 9, and I'm looking at that now and going, was that really better than the Beehive Limo? And I think this speaks to doing a podcast like this is actually, it's difficult because from day to day, you never know how you're going to feel or what you're going to be in the mood for either. That's another part of it, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is spaced over time. But I think when I look at that one, let's talk about that for a minute, the Rent-A-Car Crash Up Derby. I think I had a little bit of nostalgia there, because that's the first time you sat in the theater seeing these guys on screen, and you just had that like huge dopamine hit of the giant shopping cart intro. And then you're like, okay, fucking show's on, guys. When you get to Rent-A-Car Crash Up Derby, you're juiced. You're ready to go. And I think that might have something to do with that.
It was one of the best opens of a stunt. Not quite the production value, but I remember the overall structure being hilarious, of like going to rent the car, leaving with just the chaos and the loud music, and then returning. It looped everything in. It was like telling a story that existed on multiple planes. Also a very layered prank in that sense. But it still didn't hold up for me the same way that a couple of the other ones in this grouping did. Do you guys want to get to our pass on this one? You guys ready to give our vote for the most iconic one of this group?
Mm-hmm.
Chris, why don't you start? Or you know what? I'll start us off, because I don't know if I didn't last time. My one, as much as I love the B Limo, and I think it is the most nuanced prank one, there's something about Nutball to me, and I'm upset that I didn't give it a 10, because I think I should have given it a 10, just based on my memory of it and how much it meant to me as a kid growing up, how iconic it was, and how much I still think about it to this day. So Nutball is going to be my pass.
I mean, I'm like, I don't even care if it makes it that we don't get a pass on this one. I cannot go. I have to go with the Beehive Limo. I'm actually surprised you didn't go there, Mikey, but it is what it is. Like, to me, that is up there with, like, I rated it a 10. I'm definitely like the coolest dude marker. Like, I'd be like that cool teacher that like, dude marker. I know you're a 70, but like, you're a pretty cool kid. I'm going to give you an 85,
sure.
All
right, Joe, you coming in at? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, that's up there for me. Yeah. It's like the best ever in general.
Totally. No, it's good. Like, I get you, buddy. I totally get you. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've infected both of you with my my mannerisms here, because Chris just fucking referred to it as the Beehive Limo.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Oh, yeah. You can see who's on my team. This one's easy, though, guys. Come on. We didn't talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. It's the poof. It's the farting baby powder.
Not a chance. This is such a weird hill to die on.
This is likely to be one of my top sketches in my personal picks, because it's a 10 out of 10 easy. Dude, come on. Like, we live in the TikTok generation. I might have said this before on the podcast, but fuck it, I'm doing it again. We're short attention spans. This is a TikTok clip, like, optimized for that platform. Like,
you're right.
Gen
Z's, all it is a TikTok clip. That's about it for a stunt. It's funny.
Exactly. But the Gen Z generation, Mikey, this could be their gateway to Jackass. Show them this and be like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, I want more. A dude farting into another.
See, Mikey, you need to get on the thing of not wanting Trump arrested. He was trying to get rid of TikTok,
Yeah,
and then we could have just dealt with this in the first.
I don't know. TikTok is also our most popular social platform, so I don't think I want to get that rid of. You know what? I'm going to switch my vote over to the B Limo for the sake of passing one, because I can see that one going through.
Thank you,
that's fair. I think like I got to finish my thought on this farting baby powder thing because there's something in the sauce there. Jeff Tremaine sleeping on the couch, waking up to an asshole. Like just when you wake up sometimes and you kind of start with one eye. That's how I picture it. He's got one eye open and there's just
one eye to the
another
one
brown eye. It's eye to eye. And before you even have a chance to react, before you even have a chance to, your brain, it's kind of like that fight or flight thing. Like if you see, I saw like a snake in the woods, you're going to react and get scared before you kind of register, okay, I'm in danger. It's the same thing. And that's why it's so beautiful, because all Tremaine has a chance to do is go, oh, and then like halfway through his reaction, he's got a face full of baby powder. An eye full of baby powder.
It is funny.
Dude,
it's just
it's poetic.
It's just so face level, like base. Like, it just is what it is. And I like a little bit more something elaborate. Yeah.
I got you. But I had to give it some time on this episode because goddamn, if you're a listener and you agree with me,
there might be one. There might be one, Jay.
There's one out there. Our next round is a set of 3, number 9, 8, 7. Ooh, guys, we've got some good ones here as well, though. Let's start it off with the high five, which I do have fond memories of. I do. Mikey gave it a 10. Chris gave it a 10. I gave it an 8. This is a total score of 28 between us, obviously. This comes from Jackass 3D. The high five is great, but when I look at the next 2 to come, well, I think there's going to be some debate here. We've got the butt chug. Mikey at a 9, Chris at a 10, me at a 9 as well for 28. That's from Jackass Part 2. And then from Jackass the movie, we've got the hardware store toilet. Mikey with 9.5, Chris 9, and myself 9.5. Now, I love here that this set is one stunt from every movie to start. That's pretty fucking cool. Speaks to the power of the movies, and we're going to see a lot of movie sketches in here, I believe, going forward. But I got to say real quick before we dive into it, we're going to pick one at the end of this, but you guys know I'm a poo guy at the end of the day. Yeah, Jay's going to come out right and say it. That hardware store toilet, do you think, I got to pose this question to you, something that's kind of like low impact, like the hardware store toilet, that's very focused on a crowd reaction, if you had to pick not a sketch, but a type of sketch, whether it's a crowd reaction or something with a bang, like the high five, like surprise, bam, you get an instant laugh, what do you prefer in Jackass? Do you like that slow burn up to a big laugh with like a hardware store toilet, or do you want it to kind of take you by surprise and get you laughing?
It completely depends on. See, it's one. I think you're cheapening it by saying it's just a quick bang, because what you're forgetting about with the high five, or you didn't mention, is the fact that it involves so many different of the Jackass guys behind the scenes when they didn't realize they're filming. So it's like you are getting a slow burn in the sense that these guys are coming in. You have the anticipation, the excitement. You know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going to happen. Whereas there's other stunts, like the hardware thing, which is very good as well, where it is that slow burn and it's a great premise. You had great reactions. You had Dave England, like he could have got an Oscar for that performance over there. That yellow cardigan is just forever going to be great in our memory. But I think it's just too hard to say it's two different things, because it's at that point. Okay. I don't know. I think it's pretty obvious where I'm going to be going with this one.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about sorry, you go ahead, Mikey.
I agree. I think that there's so much, a lot of the stunts live and die off of like the slow burn element of the stunt. And I think there's a slow burn in both of them, including like the high five is a little bit more fast paced, like rapid fire once it gets going. But I think that it has the same sort of effect. You see Dave England walk in the department store, and it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? You see the big high five, you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? But there are much more executions of the punchline, I think, in the high five. Although I think they achieve that punchline through a similar method.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's fair.
The butt chug, though, we got to talk about that, because that is also one of my favorite things of all time.
Dude, butt chug, yeah. Like just rooftop party. Let's get that rubber hose into that man's ass ASAP. Like, do you think with the butt chug, I can't remember. Do you guys recall if Steve-O was kind of like fucked up before going into this, or was it the beer that kind of?
I'm sure he was.
It hits you pretty fast though, right? Like when you do something like that.
I don't know, Jay, does it?
It doesn't take long. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I'll never go back there. I've got some PTSD from those days, I'll tell you. No, but like, I don't know, man. It's got to be like, it's gotta be the type of thing they knew when they were doing it, that this could be potentially dangerous. And I think that's why they made sure he was gonna like squirt it out afterwards, you know, because he does. Like, remember, he's running around peeing on.
Well, you have to, Jay. It can't go up into your stomach. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, like, you can let it sit though for a while, and you can kind of get fucking wasted off of that before you release.
Yeah,
right?
maybe,
You know what I
maybe.
mean?
Yeah, it doesn't pass through your liver. That's why it hits you so hard. I mean, this is a great one as well. Jackass number 2 had so many of these good like friendship scenes, and I think this is one of the ones in this as well, where it's just guys getting obsessively hilarious over the most random thing. And that's this one for sure. So I don't know. I think of the 3 of these, my favorite. Well, I guess Chris, I'll kind of let you talk about the butt chug a bit too, because you said that you wanted to get into it. But
I just wanted to. The butt chug is not going to be the one I pick. It is one of my favorite things, but we've talked about it a bunch, and it's just more about when the boys are just getting around doing silly shit. It hits on that vein, but
yeah.
I mean, I would say for me, out of this batch, the one I would like to pass would definitely be the high five. I have much respect for the hardware store poop, but it did not make me laugh nearly as much as this. I could watch this one over and over. I'm pretty sure it opened up the movie, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And it created that it just set the tone in such a fucking perfect way. And you know, it's like every once in a while I'll go back and watch the hardware thing, but I could watch this and laugh every single time, as many times as I watch it.
I could have watched a full movie of the high five,
100%.
But it would have been a little bit more difficult to watch a full movie of Dave England shitting in a hardware store toilet. I'm also passing the high five.
That's fine. I'll give you guys that one for sure. Not much I can do now, but I do agree. Like, high five's a huge opener, and it's great. You need a strong opener in these movies, and it does the job well. I probably wouldn't pick butt chug, but it is tough for me because that hardware store toilet is something that I never forgot after leaving the movie, and I think so many other people would talk about it. Like, oh, you remember that time? Like, he shits in the toilet.
Yep.
Like, oh yeah, and like even people who weren't even big fans were talking about that. So I think I'd probably pick that one before high five, just because it had staying power. But yeah, I think you guys, there's no reason to say that you're wrong and going high five. That's definitely a winner as well.
Nice.
So, yeah, let's move on to the next set. We're getting close now, people. We are in our 6 to 4 range. So basically, a couple more categories here to go. We're getting down to the wire.
I think there's only 2 more categories left, right?
Yeah,
2
4
more
to 6
I'm
and 1 to
excited.
3.
Hey,
yeah, I'm excited to see.
I want to
what's
throw
up
out a
here.
random question before we get into this,
Okay.
as we're looking at the notes. The customers. What are they called?
That's how
Listeners?
Chris
The
thinks
listeners?
of you.
The listeners?
Yeah,
the
listeners.
listeners.
Customers. Yeah.
That's how the man of the
people.
people views you guys, is as customers.
Yeah. So now it comes out.
Well, and the customer's always right, and you always treat the customer perfectly. I'm a businessman at
Way to
that.
turn that around. Yeah.
But they don't need to know necessarily what's on there. Do either of you guys, out of these 2 groupings, because it is also somewhat personal, just because they're at the top doesn't mean, to me personally, this grouping is better than the final grouping. Like, if I had to choose stunt for stunt, I would go with this grouping first.
Especially because you cheated
No.
in one of the ratings on this. But yeah, we won't.
I would not. I would rate the top 3 as the top. There are some stunts outside of the top 3 that I would rather have in the top 3 than what we that. But we're
I did cheat on this one.
Yeah, you did.
You motherfucker. Yeah, you did. I think it's because you didn't like my rating and you were trying to spite me.
I had to.
Jay,
We'll
why
talk
don't you
about
go
it.
through the ratings and then we'll talk about what it means for Chris to have cheated on this one.
All right. So for the 6 to 4 group, these all come from Jackass number 2, believe it or not. So that's pretty cool. Up first, we've got the Toro Totter, which is, oh my God, come on, guys. Yes, the fucking 4-sided teeter-totter bull riding action. That shit was fucking, I'm so glad this is up here. Mikey's given it a 9.5, Chris a 9.5, and me as well. So we all agreed there for a total score of 28.5 in this grouping. Up next, we talked about it earlier. This is Weeband's card throwing machine. 9.5 for Mikey. Let's start with my score, just so you can get some context here. I gave it a 7 out of 10, and then somehow Chris thinks just because he's a man of the people or what have you, he can give it a 12.
He used
out
the
of 10,
people's
which-
vote. He played that.
I
card.
did. I did.
He phoned a friend on this one. But yeah, in the last one in the group, we've got the punch card, which is a 9.5 for Mikey, a 10 for Chris, and a 9 for me. Punch Card on Jackass 2 was Mike. You fill me on that one too.
Punch Card was Jackass number 2's version of the high five, where they had the card on the door and then the
with the little tiny things and the nice little stick of that wee man. I was wondering why there was a chair in front of there.
Wee Man seems to be the subject of 2 pranks in this section. It turns out he's a very funny person to prank.
Oh, dude, come on. The boxing glove behind the fake card on the door. It's so great. Like, and that's one that goes hand in hand, no pun intended, with the slap, the high five that we talked on the last one. It's the same kind of setup, but the fact that they pulled it off twice in 2 different ways is great.
Chris, are you taking a photo of us right now?
No, I'm just trying to get comfy. I'm trying to read. My eyes are bad. I'm trying to read the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
He's getting sexier by the minute. So guys, out of these 3, Mikey, let's start off the discussion with you. Like, if there's 3 here that are all very strong winners, and I think for different reasons, is there something that you like more? Out of the 3?
This one's tough. I do love the Toro Totter, and I love the fact that the Toro Totter is the best representation of a bull stunt that we have in Jackass, because there are so many of them, and Chris notoriously doesn't believe that bulls have a space in Jackass, but I do.
I gave it a 9.5, didn't I?
Well, because he finally came around on it after we begged and pleaded him. But I don't know that the Toro Totter in this group sticks out to me as the best one. I hesitate, though, to give too much credence to the Punch Card because it's so similar to the high five. And yes, it's a different grouping, but I almost want to give representation to every different type of stunt that we have here. And there's something about the card throw, I think, to Chris's point, who, he obviously used his power of the people to give it a 12 out of 10. I do love this one.
I think we should veto that.
No, we can't. It's so funny.
I got one power to the people.
And he used it on this one.
And I used it. It's my secret power. I made sure I saved it for the right one.
Power.
And I honestly, there's something about how much fun everyone has. Like, everyone goes from having fun to almost feeling bad for Wee Man, to being like, dude, you just please stop doing this to yourself. You have to understand we're pranking you. No one is actually throwing cards. And that insistence on Wee Man that he's smarter than everyone in the room while he's so clearly not the smartest person in the room is just so iconic to me. That would be my pass if I had a vote.
That's
Chris.
Jay, let's add for dramatic purposes. Which one would you think?
Yeah, well, fuck. Mikey's right though. Like, there's something about the Punch Card where I feel like I can't let it in because the high five was a better version of that. But it's great, so that's out for me. Still love it. Still laughed my ass off the first time I saw it. But between these last 2, the card throw and the Toro Totter, you have 3 different types of laughs here. I will say as well, because the Punch Card is kind of like that. You guys talked about it. You anticipate it. Then the moment it hits, it's like bam, and you burst out laughing when it finally happens. Card throws it's like the muscle stimulator, right? It's like dudes hanging out in a room doing something ridiculous. And you're laughing at the subject of it who's not in on the joke, but it's also about the group dynamic. And then you have the type of laugh with Toro Totter where you're kind of scared for the guys. It's like an adrenaline laugh, This is really hard for me because if I look at all the bull sketches, I think the one that stands out the most is probably one of the more recent ones when Knoxville takes the hit by the bull in Jackass Forever.
For different reasons for me, but I hear what you're saying.
But that being said, I love the way they gamified the Toro Totter and that it was so much more than just let's stand in front of a bull and see how long we can last. And I give them props for that because one thing we've given them shit for in the past is like when they have a really good idea, this happens in Wild Boy sometimes, and they don't take it to another level when they totally could have. They succeeded in Toro Totter in my mind. And I love that you see the psychology at play of the fear of like, who's going to bail first and like, how can you fuck over the other guy? I loved it. It was it was a psychology experiment. So I'm going with Toro Totter because it kept me on the edge of my seat. Although I do love card throw, and I'll never like forget Wee Man's shock when he finds out what's really going on, despite giving it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say that's really harsh for that one.
But I don't think so, though, because to me, personally, man, it's like, it's a great sketch. It's fucking hilarious, but it's not, I said this earlier on in the podcast when we were in our early run. I like a well-planned stunt and one that pays off when it's well-planned. And for Toro Totter, I felt that happened. Mm-hmm. Wee Man, it's a funny moment in time.
Wasn't that perfectly well-planned stunt? That paid off, and like they had an idea, and it escalated because it was like perfectly planned.
But it's like that to me is more just like it's you kind of don't have a roadmap for that. It's just, let's see what happens. And that can be great too. I'm not saying it's not great, Chris. It is. It's just, I like that Toro Totter, like they went high stakes and it paid off. Like if they went high stakes and it was kind of like, probably wouldn't like it so much. Does that make sense?
The high stakes part does, but you're not making sense on the card throwing personally, because it did have a plan. It definitely pays off. And like, it wasn't just them getting him to sit on an electric chair. It was getting a professional card thrower and the diabolic thing to find who the fuck's a professional card thrower and get this guy there for complete misdirection. And then not only have him doing that, have him absolutely getting hurt in the funniest way and shocked. But then even when he starts thinking he's smart, and he's like, when he makes that comment, all right, who's got the card throwing machine? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe he still doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
That is the payoff.
So it's like, there's so many levels to it. So like, I mean, I agree with you on the Toro Totter. I can't agree that the card thrower isn't like layered and stuff like that. But hey, to each his own.
Okay.
And with that,
hey, listen, man. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just saying with that, it's pretty clear that if I use the people's power to get a 12 out of 10, and I didn't go and choose that one to pass, I think the people be a little mad at me. So obviously that's the one that's passing through.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I knew it was coming. I gave it a shot. And I'll say this. You know what? I gave it a 7 out of 10, but it's not worth it, Bubby. Let's not fight. All right, Bubby?
All right.
Jay,
all right.
Answer this. This is just a quick one as well. You mentioned in your review punch card you thought was better than the high five. You gave the punch card a 9 and the high five an 8. And this stuck out to me because I also thought the punch card was better, but that was 7th place, whereas the high five is 7th place, whereas the punch card is in 4th to 6th. Would you amend that or no? You still think the high five is an 8?
I'm not going to amend it. I know I did say the high five was a better version of it. You're correct. So my numbers don't match up. I'm full of shit, but I would say that, the high five is that's the one you guys picked, so I'm basically just riding the train with you. I like both of them a lot.
Yeah.
But
they're both great.
Maybe it's just because I saw the high five more recently. That's fresh in memory. I don't really know what it could be, but I mean, hey, it's a point. It's a degree of separation. So
I hear you.
It is what it is. I don't know. We got to move on, guys.
Drum roll, please.
This is a big moment. I mean, like, holy shit. Holy fuck. I can't believe we made it here. And I got to say, guys, because this is the last time we're going to do like this, I guess, or anything like this, quite like this, I'm just going to come clean right now and say that I think I may have been wrong sometimes, you know? I don't think, going over the spreadsheet today, I've realized that sometimes I think there's been a little bias. I think sometimes I get my shit wrong, and I think sometimes I just don't rate as accurately as I think I do. And I've learned that today. And I think I got to admit that on the podcast.
You know what? It takes a lot
person
to admit
person,
that.
yeah. The measure of a strong man is being able to admit sometimes when he's wrong. Not always just trying to be stubborn. And I've never had more respect for you than I do at this moment. So
right.
You're a strong man, Jay.
I mean, the card throw was still a clear 7 out of 10.
Okay, I take everything I said back.
But
fucking asshole. That's the only one I wanted some closure on. That and the fucking limo.
There may have been times, boys, where, you know what, it's hard to do something like this and not let your ego get in the way a little bit. 'Cause we all got that to an extent. Everybody does. And it's like, sometimes when you get into a real rough spot with the boys and you're fighting over that last scrap of meat, you just got to give a dirty 5 out of 10 for something that doesn't deserve a 5 out of 10, because you got to put your dick down. You got to slap it on the table and say, look, guys, it's not big, but it gets the job done. All right.
It was, I got my revenge on you with, God, I can't remember which one it was, but you guys both wanted to go. I think, by the way, Jay, your worst rating is the cup test. The original cup test.
Yeah, maybe.
You gave it a fucking 2 out of 10, dude. Like, anyone who's like, where's the original cup test? One of the
I was wondering why that wasn't on here.
Jackass. I gave it a 9.5. Chris gave it a 10, and Jay gave it a 2. That's the most baffling one.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But I mean, man, you gave the crawfish diaper a 2, so whatever. Like, what do you know?
So whatever. Yeah.
All right, guys, the moment has come. Holy shit, we're going to do it. This is the top 3, which all received a score of 29.5 out of 30.
In the exact same way, too.
In the exact same way.
Yeah.
And who do you think the hard marker was? Yeah. surprisingly enough, and here's what I'm having trouble believing, because I'm creating a little suspense here. Let's start with the films and the series they came from before we reveal what they are. We have 2 in the top 3 from Jackass Forever, which I don't know. We're going to talk about that in a minute, why that might be. And I don't know if the audience is going to agree, but I have a theory as to why this happened. And we have 1 from Jackass Season 3, Episode 9, which is late in the TV series. And oh boy, here we go. If you're ready, I'm ready. Just clear across the board. Every single one of these sketches got a 10 from Mikey, a 10 from Chris, and a 9.5 from me. So we're all pretty well aligned, I would say. Audience, it's going to be up to you. If you think these deserve that high rating, here we go. First in the set of 3, it's the Cup Test 2.0 from Jackass Forever. We've got Silence of the Lambs. That's the one where they locked everyone in the dark and did all sorts of weird shit to them. And at the top of this list, it's the Poo Diaper with Dave England. One of our favorite sketches of all time. Holy shit. I guess we got to tear this Christmas gift wide open and figure out what's going on in our brains. Now, before we jump in, I got to say, I think we all agree Silence of the Lambs is pretty great.
Yeah.
But can we just address the elephant in the room outright? What's going on with the Poo Diaper? Was it really a 29.5 out of 30?
No apologies here. We loved this
0.
one. It was one of the things we talked about was how great Dave England could be in the TV. Like, he was probably one of the major stars of the TV series, even though he wasn't like number 1 build. But his ability to go into a stunt and make something amazing out of it, even though it wasn't great. Like, this stunt starts with him saying pudding plus diaper equals poo diaper. And it goes from there. He's just pretending to pull one out of the trash and eat it. Sure, on its face, that's not that hilarious, but Dave's desperation and disgustingness as he goes through this one was what sold it. It was so good. I have no qualms with this one being up there.
Okay.
In terms of like laughs per minute, I think I was laughing the entire way through. And I know that it doesn't have the broad appeal, but also sometimes part of what makes Jackass great is the random one that hits really well.
Yeah. Jay, you asked a question at the beginning when you were like, why is there maybe 2 Jackass Forever ones? Like, you know, why what's going on? And it's a simple answer. There's been a ton of times me and Mikey went 10-10 or 9.5-10, and you just sabotaged a fucking legendary skit by throwing a 7 out of nowhere. So you fucking answer that question for yourself, buddy, because there's some heavy hitters that could have very easily been at the top of this list, -1 score. Just saying.
Okay, but let's be fair, we all did that a little bit from time to time. It wasn't just your old friend over here.
Speaking of, Jay, can I speak to that for a second?
Yeah.
I remembered there was one stunt in Jackass 3D that I tanked because you would always tank my good scores. It was Beehive Tetherball. I think I gave it a 2. You changed my score on that one. Did you?
Nah, that would never happen.
I was like,
rules.
where did that one go? Which one was it? And I just reminded myself it was Beehive Tetherball. I gave it a 2. I chunked it, and it's still on there. I was like, what the fuck is
fake news over here?
It just occurred to me that you did that. That is a scoundrel move.
That's
but
greasy,
if
man.
Chris has his power of the people, then you have your
power of the
poople. He has the power of the poople.
Yeah.
And he can do a shitty
right.
move to give my score a higher rating.
Here, okay, let's throw the whole downfall of the spreadsheet system on Jay. Why don't we? Listen, here's what I think happened, my theory with why there's 2 Jackass Forevers here. And I think it's a simple theory. You don't have to read too much into it. We were pretty fucking horny for Jackass Forever to come out. If you don't recall, go back and listen to the 3-minute episode bonus that we did of us watching the trailer live and reacting. Chris was almost like in fucking tears. It was like he met Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and he was kissing his feet, and he was ready to he's like, just take me now. If you have this movie in heaven, take me up right now and let's go watch this shit. It was like, I swear to God, I believe, and this is maybe controversial, but I don't think the Jackass Forever stunts deserve the top spot, because I feel like we've all said it before. Jackass 1, 2, and 3 are better movies than Forever. But I will preface this, or I will put like a little side note on this that says Silence of the Lambs is pretty great. Like, they hit something gold there for sure. So if you were going to argue that Jackass Forever doesn't belong in the top 3, that one I could see making an exception. And even though the Cup Test 2.0 is great and it's fucking punishment to like the highest degree, I can't help but feel like a classic sketch from like 2 or 3 should have belonged in one of these spots.
Oh,
I
like
don't
the
know
original
why.
Cup Test, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, it just feels wrong. It just feels wrong not having something from one of the classic films up in the spot. I don't know why. That's just me.
So I don't disagree with any of these being up there, because just because they were in forever doesn't mean they weren't great stunts. Like
They are.
the the Cup Test, the original Cup Test, other than Jay's sabotage rating, would have been up there. And if you're asking me honestly, I think Cup Test 2.0 was a better version of it. It was more elaborate. There was a lot more to it.
Yeah.
So why couldn't that be there? And deep down, Silence of the Lambs might be. It could be my favorite large scale sketch in the Jackass franchise in general. It was so fucking funny. It was so intense. I mean, there's other ones like I said, like the card throwing one. I love that. There's all these ones that are up there, but I'm not ashamed of any of the ones that are in this top 26, to be honest. I think they all deserve to be there. I think there were some that should have been higher and some that should have been in there that weren't. But I don't, just because it was in forever, I don't think it was because it was nostalgic. I think it was a lot of consistency was going into the ratings, and I do think they deserve to be there personally.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think people may accuse us of recency bias for having them up there, but I
that's
disagree.
what I worry about.
No, because
that's what I worry about though, Mike.
Enough time has gone.
That part of it?
Isn't
that part of it though?
I don't think so.
Think of like this for a second. Doesn't it feel wrong that the original movies didn't make it in the top 3? Doesn't some part of that not feel wrong? Am I not right about that?
Jay, part of it does, but you can't blame me and Chris for that. That's
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it feels. It feels weird. That's all I'm saying. It just feels weird.
I think you're just having a lot of self-shame right now, Jay, because legitimately the only reason they're not is because of you. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is mathematics right now.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
So don't try to put this fucking recency bias shit on me over there, because if anyone was recency biased, I think I might know who it might be. I still love you.
Wait a minute. No, show me a couple 10s where I sabotaged. I can't even find that in the spreadsheet anywhere. What are you guys talking about? I think the numbers don't lie.
Jay's going to start going through changing everything as he goes.
In fact, Chris, you sabotaged the milk challenge, which Mikey gave a 9, I gave a 7, you gave a fucking 3. So come on, that's one of the best sketches,
and I don't think it was.
Oh, whatever.
I'll say this though, I don't agree with the recency bias thing. I think the Jackass crew has gotten so much more nuanced and so much more experience when it comes to filming and directing, and that was all over Jackass Forever. Like, this felt like a blockbuster movie more than any other Jackass movie. Silence of the Lambs, I'll say it, is my favorite Jackass stunt of all time.
Yeah,
like,
it's up there
taking everything into account, Silence of the Lambs is my favorite stunt. I'm very happy that it made the top 3. The Pudding plus Poo Diaper I like as a representation of Jackass the TV series. I think the series is demonstrably slightly lower quality than the movies for obvious reasons, lower budget, less experience, et cetera. And the Cup Test 2.0, like we talked about when we reviewed the Cup Test 1.0, how it was a little bit underwhelming compared to what we remembered. Jackass Cup Test 2.0 it gave me the same feeling I had when I watched the original Cup Test 1.0 and the feeling that I thought I would have had when I rewatched it. I didn't have that feeling again until I watched Cup Test 2.0. It brought it into the modern era. It revitalized it. It added more danger. And like part of the original Cup Test was Knoxville taking a paintball to the jock. That's not impressive. There's so much more that we've changed. It was funny at the time, but it wasn't as impressive. So these modern stunts, I kind of like, it's not to slight Jackass number 1 and number 2. It's to say, look, we've given you the best, we've learned from it, and this is the most pure version of those stunts.
And even if you look at, I'd say, just off the top of my head, I could be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure in the top 10, 15, the highest representation was from Jackass 2, which is unanimously known as the best Jackass thing. Like, it's not like we're missing anything. It's just how the cookies crumbled, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. I think our list is pretty damn accurate for the most part.
Yeah, half of the top 15 is Jackass Part 2.
Right?
I wasn't trying to say it's bad. I'm just saying it just feels
weird. Curious. I agree, Jay. It is curious. Yeah.
Of what I was anticipating. I even said to Mikey before we recorded the other day, I can't wait to see where Butterbean got in. And Butterbean didn't even make the top 26. No. And I was anticipating that to be up there because we talk about that one highly, like when they do the department store fight, right?
Yep.
It's not even in here. Nope. It's I don't even know where it is.
That's closer to like top
38,
35 or so. Yeah.
So you look at that, it's like, it's easy to get lost in the sea of stunts, I guess, and think nostalgia plays a big factor in how we remember these things. And I think we've learned that over the course of the podcast, that sometimes the things you think you loved or you think were really great, I mean, the numbers don't really lie here for the most part, like in the few cases where we might have been fucking around. But I mean, for the most part, these are pretty accurate representations of how we felt. I think we were doing our best most of the time to give a good rating and what we felt. And I don't know. It's just surprising, I guess, is the thing, right? Because you don't see it going that way. But I will agree with Chris when you said there's a lot of Jackass 2 in here, and that's for a reason. A lot of that. I'm not so surprised not to see a lot of like the TV series stuff in here, because I think we established the movies seemed to they came into their own there. But overall, guys, I don't know. I'm happy with the list. Maybe there's a few qualms I have, but overall, this felt pretty good to me too.
Why don't we give our pass to the top three, crown the top rated Jackass stunt, then maybe we can talk about some notable things that are missing. I think I'll go first because I said this right off the bat. Silence of the Lambs is my favorite Jackass stunt of all time. I'm happy that it's up here and is represented in the rankings. That's going to be my pass for this group.
Okay, Chris, you want me to go?
Yeah,
I can go. All right. Holy shit, guys. Big moment here. And I got to say, the fact that a sketch from Jackass season 1, I didn't mention this a moment ago, actually made it in surprises me too. That's another thing I wanted to point out. The poo-poo platter was the only thing from season 1.
Yeah.
I would have almost bet money that there wasn't going to be anything from season 1 just because
it was a little disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's maybe not that, but it's just that they're figuring out like the formulas for sure. Right. But anyway, that's besides the point. I got to give my final pass for this. Out of these three, this is fucking hard. Like, I know Silence of the Lambs is a fucking killer sketch, but I don't know if I'm going to go that direction because, frankly, these are all really good. Like, seeing the poo diaper and Dave doing his thing, like, that's Dave just killing it. Cup Test is just, like, I never thought they'd go that far. Like, I don't know. This is really fucking difficult. Geez, guys. Chris, I think you're going with Silence of the Lambs, so really it probably doesn't matter what I pick at this point. Unless you want to prove me wrong. Do you just want to put a cap on this right now? Because I think
I'm going Silence of the Lambs for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
But what would you pick, Jay? You gotta pick your number one.
Yeah, I know. God damn, Silence of the Lambs is so good. I don't think it's the Cup Test, although that is really fucking legendary. I don't think it's the number one. Is it even right to say the poo diaper is the number one sketch of all time? Come on, it's good, but the number one of all time. You know what, guys? Let's end on a happy note. Let's end as one big fucking happy family. I'll do this one for you for all the trouble I've caused.
Yeah, buddy.
It's Silence of the Lambs. Let's do it. Let's align.
I love that. So the number one Jackass stunt of all time, Silence of the Lambs. We've got a full breakdown of that stunt over on our YouTube channel if you want to watch that as well. Guys, I started off by saying I had a bit of a surprise for you for this recording. It's not, it's nothing enormous, but it's a by the numbers breakdown of what the best Jackass content is in terms of an average score by season and movie. All right.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to give our average score. This is the combined totals of all of the stunts that we reviewed. Jackass season 1 combined average score is a 17 out of 30. Obviously the highest score is a 10, 10, 10. That would be a 30. Jackass season 2, 17.2 out of 30. Jackass season 3, 17.72 out of 30.
Okay.
Jackass the movie, number 1, 19.61 out of 30. Next one coming up, Jackass Forever, 21.14 average rating.
Ooh.
Now this is between Jackass number 2 and Jackass 3D as the highest average rating per stunt.
Ooh, my God. This is a debate, dude. This is like widely debated too.
In so number 2 is Jackass 3D with a 21.48 average rating, and Jackass number 2, 22.25 average rating across all stunts. It just banger after banger after banger for number 2.
That's an interesting list. I kind of agree with a lot of that, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
The one thing that people would need to understand, I guess, and we need to understand is that doesn't include interstitials. So interstitials will add a lot of flow to certain movies. So some people might be like, oh, you only gave a 22 out of 30 for, Jackass 2, but it's not about that. There isn't always hits and things. So those things can bring averages down. And just the flow and actual interstitials can actually add to the overall viewing pleasure. So I wouldn't say that's what we rate the movie overall. It's just that's what our stunt breakdown was. Correct? Does that make sense?
Fair.
Yeah,
and
I like that. Thank you, Mikey.
No worries.
Thank you,
was
Mikey.
fun.
Yeah, that was a really good idea, actually. I never would have even thought to go that direction, and I'm glad we did, because I think it answers a question that a lot of people, like I said, it's debated, like, is 2 or 3 the better movie? I think a lot of people feel those are, like, they're pretty neck and neck, so it's good to see 2 take the reins, because I feel like that's the way it should have went. But I do want to do one thing before we wrap up, because we're right at the end here, guys. We've crowned our number 1. Silence of the Lambs. We all agreed that's it. And I'm still a little surprised that's the one, but I think it has something to do with that whole nostalgia thing that I was talking about, where it's like you think something else you saw growing up was like the ultimate sketch. But let's actually break down for just a minute what makes Silence of the Lambs so special and give it its due right here. Because I think people deserve that much to know, why is this a top tier sketch? Why would this belong in the number 1 spot? And I'll start off the discussion by saying, I think it's because, and we've talked about this many times on the show, Jackass is a very specially crafted recipe of a bunch of different specific elements. You know, some of those might be the element of surprise or like adrenaline, or just, you know, hanging out with the guys, like a social aspect. It's crowd reactions. It's subverting expectations. It's so many things to make good comedy in Jackass. Now, I think what this sketch does well is that it takes a lot of the little elements from Jackass over the years and it combines them into one thing, but it's doing it in a way where you're actually like, you're pranking the people who should be the hardest to prank.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because these are the experts after all. Like, they are the jackasses, yet by turning out the lights and shrouding them in darkness and then doing all this shit to them, it's like you've like cut down the pedestal they're standing on, and now they're back at square one. They're like, oh, here's a situation I haven't had to deal with before. And they have to navigate it. And it's kind of like, it's interesting to watch how they react, because they're completely out of their element. You know what I mean?
Well,
part of loss of control.
They're not all out of their element. Part of the excitement of it is Jackass Forever is about the new versus the old, and to see how a veteran of Jackass treats this situation versus how the new guys do it. Like, Jackass is convinced he can trick the game and find a way out. And that's when he finds his way to the room with all of the hanging pots and pans, and he jumps over with the mouse traps and the marbles. Aaron also thinks that he can trick it. He gets a door, you know, he's Danger. He's just like, he's up for anything, whatever. But you know, you got at one point, Danger Aaron just hides under a table. That's a veteran move. At one point you got Dave England, who's just like, I'm not moving. I'm just staying here. Like, the more I struggle, the more I'm going to get myself deep into this trap. Preston Lacey just reverting to like the most scared little child I've ever seen. It was hilarious. These new kids reacting the way that they did versus the old guard, PTS Dave just taking the cake on this. Just setup, execution. We talk about the B limo and the layers and how much that matters, and you know, showing them the snake, having the lights turn off, touching them with weird things, Pontius dancing in the background for no one but the camera, the door that leads to extra traps, like layer on layer on layer. Everything about this one works on all cylinders, and I just fucking loved it.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head with the old guard and the new guard thing. Like, it was so interesting to see that. Even after it's all done, Dave England's like, is it over? Like, he asked like numerous times, like, are you sure this is done? Because he still knows there could be more to this fucking shit. You know what I mean? So it's like the new guys are just like terror. And as time goes on, those guys will start to become the veterans, and they'll hopefully this is something that goes on forever. And I think that Silence of the Lambs sketch might be that one that shows us that these new people will work. They will work with the old, and it gives us hope and opportunities for the future. Right. I can't wait to see those guys in a situation teaching the young guys how to fucking do it. You know,
the Gen Zers.
There's a passing of the torch. You're totally right, and it's funny how the passing of the torch is actually symbolized in what happens in the sketch, because you guys are right. Like, there is that element of the new coming in, and Mikey, as you said it, it's like they're eager to figure out what to do in this new situation that they've never encountered before. But at the same time, we've also incapacitated the veterans, because you said it yourself. Dave hides under a table. Preston is so scared, he doesn't even want to move. Like, he's just shivering. He doesn't know where to go or where to turn. You've got basically almost complete inaction from the veterans at this point, because they're like, oh, fuck. Like, you pretty much brought me to my breaking point.
Yes.
I am so traumatized that I know it's best to just do nothing. Whereas the new guys are like, what's behind this door?
Yes.
Walking into pots and pans. And it's beautiful because there you go. It's like you're saying, okay, fuck it. We're out. You guys take the flag now and carry it to the goal. And that's what happens here. And it's kind of like poetic in a way. So yeah, there's something special about it, I think.
They also talk about like the current Jackass members, the old Jackass members talk about how that was the scariest stunt they've ever been a part of. That was the most fear they felt on set. And we talk about, the amazement we had in Jackass 3D when the Preston Lacey, the sweatsuit cocktail came out, and we're like, I can't believe they're still finding ways to gross us out. I can't believe 10 years after that, they're still finding ways to catch their own cast members off guard. It's so perfect. And I could watch that one every day of my life and not get bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
Layers, baby. Yeah, you'll see something new every time in that one. And that is our number one sketch of all time after watching all of the mainline Jackass content. We did it, boys. Holy shit, congratulations.
And girls.
Boys and girls? All right, we did it. I mean, I can't believe that we've come this far. Luckily, out there in the world, there's always more Jackass stuff to be found. We're not quite done yet. I mean, there'll be ways we can continue the show. So if you're worried they've done everything, what are they going to do next? I'm happy to announce right now that if you liked this episode, we're going to do another version of this next week, but we're going to turn things on its head a little bit. We're going to give to you a rating of the worst sketches all the way down to the shit bottom of this list.
Very
so look forward to that next
where we
week.
end up with that.
Yeah, me as well. Time will tell if these predictions you made about me and this slander you put out there about how I operate is true or not. We'll find out. Did some of the best sketches end up in the bottom of the pile? Was that my fault? I don't know. Let's find out next week. But before then, I guess we can't really do an MVP of the show, but do you guys want to tackle the grand task of trying to come up with an MVP for the entire
That's
series?
Sacrilege. That's sacrilege. You can't do it. You just can't. Should
we try?
Maybe at the end of next episode, when we've had some time to consider the best and the worst of it, we'll give our ultimate discovery of MVP and LVP. Because this feels like an MVP episode and the next episode feels like an LVP episode. So maybe at the end of the next one, we'll see if we have that idea in mind.
I already know who you'd both pick anyway, I think.
No, I don't know if you do.
I think I do.
Well, you'll find out. You'll find out next week.
That's a hard task. I guess we'll leave it then. So tune in next week for that. You'll get the worst sketches of all time and you'll get our attempt at an MVP, LVP of the series, which, yeah, I don't even know if I want to name anybody the LVP, to be honest. So there's going to have to be some bullshit there. We're going to have to dig deep and find somebody who appeared in the show at some point and really did them dirty. But we want to hear from you, of course, because a moment like this in the podcast is a big one. And this is just our preferred selection. You probably don't agree with everything we came up with. So I would love to hear from some people out there who listen. What do you think deserves to be, let's even say what's your top 5? If you want to send that to us, pick 5.
Sure.
Let us know what you think they are. And if we get a couple of those, maybe we read them on the next episode or something. But at JackassPod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Come find us. Let us know what you thought.
Or JackassPod@gmail.com if you want to email us those lists.
Please do. Yeah. Well, boys, we did it. And somehow corn sledding didn't make it on the list, which I don't know. There must have been some sort of data entry error. Clearly, the computer is at fault because that just doesn't add up, at least in my mind.
We may see it next episode.
Right. Yeah. We're going to resort the spreadsheet. We're going to look into things and we'll come back next week with another top 25 where corn sledding will reign supreme. Until then, bye. I'm Jason Milburn.
Bye. I'm Chris Aaronworth.
Bye. I'm Mikey Aaronworth. And this has been Jackass.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Get into it.